So this was a leftover video that I had. I actually filmed it all the way back in November, and I've just been waiting for a good time to release it. I felt like you guys might have been getting a little bit Aurelia fatigued. But for the sake of this video, I was trying to focus on the new cards that were printed for Aurelia, and in this particular one, we didn't get to see a whole lot of them, which is why I ended up filming the game that I actually released around Christmas time. However, there's still some fun stuff in this game, so I've just been waiting for the right time to release it. But yeah, be sure to check out the Deck Tech video and Game 1 of Aurelia's new Christmas toys, since there was a lot of cool stuff going on in those videos. Anyway, let's get into the game. Alright, so here we are, playing some Aurelia with her new Christmas toys. We won the die roll, we will play first. See what our opening hand looks like. We have 3 lands. Yeah, I like this. We have Balin, 3 lands, Enlightened Tutor, a little bit of Mana Ramp, Sword of the Animist. All good stuff, let's keep that. So for those that don't know, Aurelia is 2 red, white for a 3/4 with Flying Vigilance Haste. Whenever she attacks for the first time each turn, untap all creatures you control. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. So Flying Vigilance Haste and gives you 2 attack steps, which is awesome. One of my favorite commanders. And I've talked about her a whole bunch on the channel, so for those that have been watching for a while, you obviously know who she is. For those that are new to the channel, you're about to find out. Let's take a look at what our opponents are playing. We have Omnath, Locus of Rage, is 2 in a green for a 1/1. Green mana doesn't empty from your mana pool as steps and phases end. Omnath gets +1/+1 for each green mana in your mana pool. So Omnath is going to look to make a ton of mana and ramp into big, huge things and also make Omnath huge. And one thing about this deck is that it can do those things very, very quickly. Next up, we have Talrand Sky Summoner, is 2 blue for a 2/2. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 2/2 blue Drake creature with flying. Talrand is very strong, usually a very counterspell heavy kind of deck. So if we can get our Conqueror's Flail down and into play and equipped, that'll be a very good thing for us. And then finally, we have Maelstrom Wanderer, is 5, a blue, a red, and a green. For a 7/5, creatures you control have haste, and when you cast Maelstrom Wanderer, cascade, then cascade again. Very powerful commander, usually ramps into big, huge things, and I don't love Maelstrom Wanderer because it's been too good for too long. One of the big problems with Maelstrom Wanderer is, because of its cascade abilities, your opponent almost never doesn't have access to Maelstrom Wanderer. Because that cascade ability usually finds the more ramp spells and more artifacts and things like that, and they just always have a ton of mana, so they always have access to recast Maelstrom Wanderer. No matter how many times you kill it, really the only way I found them to deny them from recasting it is playing Armageddon or something like that. Anyway, back to our turn. We draw planes. We'll play a planes, drop our Sword of the Animist. One of the questions I have is, we can go for Conqueror's Flail so that we can try not to get blown out by counterspells from the Talrand player, or because we have Balin, we can try going for Sunforger at some point, and that would be really sweet if we can get Sunforger and Balin online. Basically, that means it's 4 mana, cast a red-white instant from our deck, which is pretty awesome. Ether Spellbomb for our opponent. They can sack it to return target creature to its owner's hand. Seems pretty good. That can actually get us pretty good. We hope that they use that long before we cast any of our big creatures. Back to our turn, we draw a Worn Power Stone. So I'm actually going to play the Worn Power Stone instead of the Coalition Relic this turn, because the Worn Power Stone will give us 2 mana all the time, where the Coalition Relic will only give us 2 additional mana some of the time. Although the Coalition Relic will give us colored mana, which is important. Right now, we are a red short of being able to cast Aurelia. Tygam Scheming. The top 5 cards of your library, put any number of them into your graveyard, and put the rest back on top of your library in any order. Seems good. Mana Crypt for our opponent. So Maelstrom Wanderer are starting to get ramped up. Now has an Ancient Tomb and a Mana Crypt, which means that they are not far off from casting Maelstrom Wanderer, and it is only turn 3. Wanderer is going to Green Sun Zenith for 4. Solemn Simulacrum? Oracle of Moldiah. That was close. And opponent has a Terastodon on top of their deck. Ugh. Terastodon is one of those cards that can get us pretty good. Omnath coming into play. Back to our turn, we draw a Austere Command. That could be helpful later in the game. Right now, we'll play the planes, we'll get down our Coalition Relic, and we'll try Balin, but I fully expect that it's just going to get bounced back to our hand. So Talrand coming into play. Opponent loses some life on the Mana Crypt. Flip has a Venser Shaper Savant on top of their deck, also real bad. At least they're missing lands. Missing lands is good. That'll slow them down a bit. Maelstrom Wanderer says it skipped their turn. Don't know, maybe they have 6th, who knows. Opponent says, feels bad. You have a good board state, though. Missing a turn is a really big deal. That's not something you want to do. One turn in Commander can make a huge difference because of how powerful cards and spells are. One turn makes the difference between someone casting a Tooth and Nail or an Insurrection and just ending the game. You kill them one turn before they cast their winning spell, then you've eliminated that threat, and if you do that enough times, eventually you'll win the game. The longer a Commander game goes, the more powerful stuff you're going to see, the more likely the game is to end. Omnath plays a Wood Elves, finds a Forest, and has a little bit of mana floating. Omnath is now a 3/3. Back to our turn. We're going to play this Enlightened Tutor. We're going to go find our Sunforger. Since Talrand's tapped out right now, I feel pretty good about our chances of this resolving. But Pact of Negation, well, Pact of Negation should be offline because I don't have 5 mana. Force of Will is still a thing. Daze is also a thing. What's the other free counter spell? I think there's 1 or 2 more. Let's get a Sunforger. Draw the Sunforger. Unfortunately, no counters on our Coalition Relic, so no additional mana. Play the Command Beacon. Play our Sunforger. We'll use Balin's ability, so we're going to equip up everything to Balin. And this is exactly where we want to be. A Sunforger on our Balin with some open mana. We're going to go to combat against the Maelstrom Wanderer opponent. Even though they have a bunch of open mana, that's... Actually, we're going to go to combat against the Omnath opponent since they don't have any open mana. We're going to get a Sword of the Animus trigger. Find a very much needed mountain. So find a mountain. Opponent says, doesn't have to be like this, we can be pals. Just letting him know I was trying to get a sword trigger, and the other guy had open mana, so I didn't want to mess around with that. But man, Sunforger and Sword of the Animist on Balin makes it an 8/4 double strike. That is a lot of power. If we got Aurelia down and opponent doesn't have blockers, that's a crap ton of damage. I've been really impressed with how strong Balin is. It's actually almost borderline too strong. I've been playing a lot of Balin as the commander, and it's been really impressive. I think I'm like 6 wins and 2 losses or something like that, and I really haven't spent a lot of time refining the deck even. It's just very, very powerful to be able to cheat the mana costs on your equipments. And it's also, like, it's very streamlined in the sense of you cast some equipments, cast your commander, activate its ability, and then generally try to swing in for lethal at someone, while your opponents mess around with, like, value cards and different things, this and that. You're basically assembling the least number of pieces you need to kill someone by equipping up Balin, which is something I really like about the deck. But when you're playing decks like that don't have a lot of tricks to them, sometimes you can get stonewalled by stuff, and then you don't have a way out. So that is the give and the take of playing a really simple, straightforward, aggressive Voltron deck. So, Maelstrom Wanderer coming into play. You can get 2 Cascade triggers. Looks like the first thing's going to be this Garruk Wildspeaker. Pretty good, but at least it's not a treachery. There are scarier things that could be. And second Cascade trigger is a Beast Within. Ugh. So opponent's going to try to Beast Within our Balin. And we're going to go to the Sunforger, try a Boros Charm. We could go for Teferi's Protection, but Teferi's Protection exiles itself, so we only get 1 shot with that. We're going to go with the Boros Charm instead, just because we can recycle the Boros Charm with Mistveil Plains. So permanents we control gain indestructible. So Boros Charm resolves. That's good. We can F6 now. Balin survives, and we still get the token. Awesome. Opponent says, nice play. Yes, indeed. That's a play that I've been making for a long time, just that I can do it a lot more efficiently with Balin now, so very excited about that. I am a little bit worried. We're open to the blue opponent now. They do have bounce. They do have any number of things that could be problematic for us. Also, Maelstrom Wanderer is now untapping their lands. They do have mana for Venser, so we're going to have to be careful of that. So back to Omnath's turn. The token's very helpful because now we have a blocker for Omnath in case so they don't decide to come into us for a whole bunch of damage. So back to our turn. There's an Emeria the Sky Ruin. No one has any strip mines or things like that yet, so that's good. We're still 4 planes away from being able to use Emeria. So play Emeria. So we don't have enough this turn to cast Aurelia and try to get our Sunforger equipped to Balin with open mana, all in the same turn. So I think what we're gonna do here, we're gonna swing into the Talrand, get another sword trigger, and just hope that things don't go terribly for us with all the bounce spells that are probably in our opponent's hands. I'm not attacking the Wanderer opponent because I know they have the Venser in hand, and I would. Well, actually, if we force them to use the Venser, then in response we can equip the Sunforger and then use Teferi's Protection if we have to. Yeah, we can do that. So I think we can play around it. We'll have to probably equip Sunforger twice with the Balin ability. I think that'll work, though. So let's try it. So Sword of the Animus trigger. We'll find a Plains. Start trying to get our Plains count up for Emeria. Opponent's going to block with their Maelstrom Wanderer. We will go to equip our Sunforger. So Sunforger's now equipped. We're in a good spot.
This will kill the Maelstrom Wanderer. Unfortunately, they'll be able to recast it again. So Maelstrom Wanderer goes down. And we have a bunch of open mana with Balin and Sunforger, so this is exactly where I want to be. I would like to get Boros Charm back into our library, so we need to find our Mistveil Plains sooner rather than later. And unfortunately, we've already used Enlightened Tutor, which is one way that we can tutor artifacts out of our deck with Sunforger. So peer through the depths for our opponent, and they're going to get a Drake out of the deal. Nothing like Talrand just sitting on a bunch of open mana. Back to Maelstrom Wanderer's turn, they're going to get a Mana Crypt trigger. They win the flip. Has Chromatic Lantern on top of their deck. Signet for the Wanderer opponent. Opponent says this is their second game on MTGO. Let them know the commander decks are way cheaper on Magic Online. Maelstrom Wanderer coming back into play. 2 Cascade triggers. That first one looks like it's going to be a Chromatic Lantern, which isn't too bad, not too scary. Let's find out what the second one is. The second one is a Xenagos, which is much, much scarier. More importantly, the Wanderer opponent has tapped out, so we don't have to worry about the Venser this turn. Still don't know what Talrand has, and they have a bunch of open mana. Ooh, opponent has Tooth and Nail on top of their deck. That's a big problem. So Xenagos trigger likely on the Maelstrom Wanderer. Yep. So Maelstrom Wanderer coming at us. Question here is, do we just chump block with the token, or do we use a spell out of our deck? Actually, you know what? If we use Path to Exile, actually we need to check to see if Path to Exile is in this deck. It might have gotten pulled out. Alright, so we'll use Path to Exile, and when they search for the land, that should shuffle away the Tooth and Nail. I like that plan. So, activate Sunforger. So, Path to Exile on the Maelstrom Wanderer. Unfortunately, that does give them a land, which makes it easier for them to recast their Maelstrom Wanderer, but I am thinking about blowing up their artifacts sooner rather than later here, and that'll slow down their mana production pretty heavily. So, opponent shuffles their library, has an Asceticism on top. That is not significantly better, but at least it's not Tooth and Nail. So, Omnath just pumping all the mana. Oh, Omnath's got a doubling cube. Ew. That's a Triumph of the Hordes for Omnath. They're going to get +1/+1 trample and infect. Let's see who they attack. I mean, you can't attack Talrand. Talrand's still got the spell bomb. Man, this spell bomb, man, just holding up a spell bomb is kind of scary in Commander, because you put so much mana and effort into a single creature that getting it bounced can completely wreck your plans. All right, opponent's going after the Maelstrom Wanderer opponent. That is a good thing. Maelstrom Wanderer definitely playing a lot of powerful cards, Tooth and Nail, and they scoop it up. Nice. So going down to the Omnath opponent. In the meantime, we are going to reattach our equipment to Balin. As much as I would love to put a counter on Coalition Relic, we can only do it if Talrand taps out. And now there's a Kozilek Butcher of Truth coming down. It's a pretty good card. Let's see if Talrand counters. They let it resolve. I feel like that says Talrand probably doesn't have a counter spell then. Oh, we should have put a counter. Tricky. Ooh, we draw a Chaos Warp. That is very, very helpful. We definitely can't take the Annihilator hit from Kozilek, so we're going to flip Kozilek back into its owner's library with Chaos Warp. Opponent gets a Silklash Spider. Very good card against Aurelia. Also very good against Talrand. Unfortunately, we're a little bit locked on red mana, so I would normally cast Aurelia this turn, but let's see what kind of mana we only have 2 red mana available, especially after the Chaos Warp, and I want to leave Sunforger up. Right now, we will just swing into the Talrand, get a Sword of the Animus trigger. So we'll get a Mountain this time, even though I like to almost exclusively go for Plains to get our Emeria online. We're really locked on red mana right now, so opponent's just going to block with the Drake. If that's all they're doing, I'm completely okay with that. Opponent said, well, that win con is gone after I Chaos Warped the Kozilek. Still got his Omnath, though. Still got your Omnath. He says, hey, yes, nom nom. Nice. Having a good time with our opponents. Talrand finally tapping some mana. Let's see what awfulness they're gonna rain down on us. Nothing would make me happier than if Talrand tapped out for something that wasn't, like, treachery or terrible. Fact or Fiction for our opponent. So they're gonna get another Drake, and they're gonna draw some cards. So it looks like they're just trying to find lands or something, because I don't know why they would play that during their main phase. They have 2 lands. They have a Disdainful Stroke, a Crippling Chill. Tap target creature doesn't untap during its opponent's next untap step. That's pretty good. That would get us pretty good. Cranial Archive, what's this do? Exile Cranial Archive. Target player shuffles his or her graveyard into his or her library. Draw a card. Well, let opponent know they should split the lands from the counters. So opponent goes with the counter spell, Disdainful Stroke. We're in, let's see what opponent's got. Tapping out the rest of their mana. Opponent's got a Dig Through Time. Okay, they can draw some cards. Opponent discards Guile. Guile's going to shuffle into their library. Guile is a really strong card in a counterspell deck. Omnath's turn. Whisper Silk Cloak for the Omnath. Seems pretty good. Can attach the Whisper Silk Cloak. And they've got a Shrouded 8/8 unblockable. Let's see where they decide to point it. Doesn't attack. Wow. Wow. All right, so we're going to put a charge counter on Coalition Relic. We are going to Sunforger. And we need to try to take out Talrand right here, because Talrand's tapped out right now, and I don't know that we'll get another good shot to actually be able to attack into them. So we're going to cast Sulphurous Blast and kill Talrand and all of the Drakes. So Talrand and the Drakes go down, reattach our Sunforger. Back to our turn. That's a Wheel of Fortune. We may be able to make use of that. We're very short on red mana, so we're going to add red with the Coalition Relic. Red, colorless, white. And let's get Aurelia in and just go to town on the Talrand opponent. Come on, no free counterspells. It resolves. All right. Send in everything. You get a sword trigger and an Aurelia trigger. Uh-oh. Opponent is going to Silklash Spider for X4, which will kill our Aurelia, but we've already got the combat trigger on the stack. So do the math here. We've got Talrand's at 38. We really want to kill Talrand. So that'll be 8/16 on the first combat, and 16 on the second combat. That's 32. Plus, I think we have Exaxes with the Beast token hanging around. So Aurelia goes down, but we're still going to get our second combat. Opponent said he was hovering over the concede button. I don't think he's done the math. I don't think he realizes that this is still lethal. We'll get a Plains, get closer to our Emeria. Yep, now he realizes it's still lethal. Letting opponent know they should soak up the damage just to give Omnath a chance. If they scoop early, we can use our second attack to go in after Omnath. So another Sword of the Animist trigger. Sword of the Animist, so powerful with Aurelia. Basically, once you get the two combat steps going with Sword of the Animist, you'll almost always have access to Aurelia. Each time you get the two triggers, that pays for your next commander attacks. Wow, exactly 38 damage after losing our Aurelia. That worked out beautifully. We could Wheel of Fortune right here, but Omnath hasn't really been doing that much. They haven't cast anything really big, so I don't feel like we need to Wheel of Fortune right now, because I don't want them to draw into anything big. So Talrand goes down. Talrand said they had really bad draws, and I tend to believe him because I didn't see him resolve a single counterspell, so that tells you something was probably up. Krosan Grip is the one card that could get our opponent out of this, because then we will lose Sunforger with that and not have the ability to activate it. Omnath coming in. So fire up the Sunforger. We're going to get Comeuppance, prevent all the damage to us, and it'll send that damage back to Omnath, which should kill it. Opponent said he forgot that card existed. Yep, that's a card. Gets me out of a lot of trouble. All right, and we will reattach all of our equipment to Valen. So Omnath goes down, and opponent's going to lose all of their mana, so they're tapped out for the rest of their turn. So that works beautifully. So at the end step, we're going to put a charge counter on that, fire up Sunforger one more time, remove the Silklash Spider. Opponent will gain some life out of the deal. Actually, let's see what removal spells we have left. Looks like Swords of Plowshares are only one. So remove the Silklash Spider. Opponent will gain some life. Back to our turn. Ooh, that's a Sword of Fire. Nice. Nice. Add a red. Get our Aurelia back into play. Get Sword of Fire Nice into play. Get Balin equipped up. And now we go to town. Balin's now at 10/6 with Double Strike. And a whole bunch of abilities that trigger on attacking and combating. Opponent says that Comeuppance. Yeah, it's good. So use the Sword of the Animist. Get another Plains. Now it's 7 Plains. Emeria is active. No creatures, though, in Graveyard. So Sword Trigger hits our opponent. Ooh, we draw the Hammer. We're not going to get a chance to play it, but we still draw the Hammer. Draw an Odric. And go in for the final combat. Wow, we have a lot of lands. The green deck only has 8 lands. We've got 11 lands with a bunch of artifact ramp, and there it is. We win the match. All right. So Balin and Sunforger just doing a ton of work. I knew it was going to be really strong, and it just turned out to be amazing. I mean, basically that's all we did all game was play Balin and use our Sunforger, and we answered all of the problems that our opponents threw at us, and we were able to win the game. Luckily for us, Omnath went after the Wanderer opponent, so we didn't have to try to swing in for lethal on Wanderer, because it would have taken us some time to do that, and it would have given our opponents a chance to react to us, but with Omnath killing him and only having to focus on the 2 opponents, we're in much better shape. But yeah, so these are some of Aurelia's new toys. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see a lot of the other new cards, so I'm probably going to have to do a part 2 to this video. But we did see the Balin Sunforger combo, which is something that I've been really excited about for a long time. So it's every bit as awesome as I expected, and maybe even a little bit more so. Anyway, that's going to do it for today. If you like this video, feel free to comment, like, or subscribe. Thank you for watching.